Hey guys, Jaggerous here, and as you can see, Smite Tactics has had a patch, which you can hopefully tell from this new home screen that we have. We've got menus, we've got pictures, it's looking kind of nice. And today I want to kind of give you guys an overview on the patch, along with my thoughts on it, so that's kind of the plan. I mean, they've done a bunch of new kind of HUD features and UI features, and added daily quests. You can have up to 3 of them and you can reroll them and stuff. But what I'm really going to focus on in this video is the balance changes and the new cards. So we'll start with the balance changes. If we go to our collection here, and we'll go to Egypt, you can see that Geb, wherever he may be, come here Geb, there he is, now gives a friendly +0/+2. So previously that gave you +0/+3, and that's not a heal, that was bonus health. So like if I had Anher out and I had Geb out and I used Geb's ability, Anher would become a 3/6 instead of a 3/3. Now, you know, 1 less health, so now he would become a 3/5, for example. And I think that's a fair change. I think Geb was a very, very strong card, and because he's got 7 health, you know, he was quite hard to deal with, which means 9 times out of 10, you know, you were, if you played him, going to get that buff off onto one of your units. You can use it on your leader, you know, you can use it on Anubis, you can use it on any unit, and gaining 3 health, you know, every other turn was kind of ridiculous. So I think this balance change is fair. The next change that we have is Book of the Dead now costs 9 instead of 7. So this was a late game card. You play it in control decks. For example, if you check out my Egyptian control deck, you'll see this card and actually Geb being played. And Book of the Dead, what it does is it spawns 3 random gods from any grave. So there has to be gods in the grave for this to work, and there has to be 3 spaces around your unit, but it's kind of like a game changer. This is a massive swing if you can summon 3 gods in 1 turn. And if you get lucky and, you know, you get very strong gods, then Book of the Dead was pretty ridiculous. And, you know, I think it's still going to see a lot of play even after this 2 mana increase, because, you know, you're playing it at the end of the game anyway. And I think like it stops you maybe playing something else that turn, you know, because Book of the Dead is such a big swing. But honestly, I think this change is fine as well. Next we have Scylla. Whoops, we've gone the wrong way. We want to go to Greek. Oh, we're in deck creation. This is probably why we have a problem. Collection, there we go. Greek. Where is Greek? Here it is. There we go, Scylla. So previously with Scylla, the way her ability worked was it targeted tiles, which means if you had a unit in grass or a Norse unit that had ambush, which weren't directly targetable, Scylla could just use her ability to kill them anyway. And that kind of defeated the point of the ability. So now the way it works is you have to be able to see the unit. So, you know, if it's in grass, you have to have a unit adjacent, and if it's in ambush, you can't actually target it. I mean, there are still abilities which can target ambush gods, for example, like Fate from Norse. So you know, they are still targetable, just no longer with Scylla, which makes her a little bit more balanced. Last but not least, for our card changes, we have Temporal Beads. Now costs 4 instead of 3. And like, honestly, I don't see this card played that often, though it is, you know, a legendary card and it is very strong. It refreshes the cooldown of all friendly gods and allows their abilities to be used again. So basically it means that you can reuse abilities on your gods, and it's a kind of card that you would maybe fit into like a 1-turn kill Loki deck. So if you have Loki, for example, wherever he may be in here, there he is. Loki's a 5/3, and his ability, teleport to an enemy up to 3 tiles away and deal 5 damage to it. If you know, combined this ability with some like damage buffs, for example, and then you use the Temporal Beads, you know, you can use that ability twice, and it can get pretty nasty, all things told. So that's the kind of situation that you would use it. And this one mana increase in cost, I think, is fine. I don't think it's hugely detrimental to the game. And that's it basically for our balance changes. Now we'll go on to new cards. You might have spotted some of them previously. So if we go to Egyptian, we have Osiris. Where is Osiris? He's in here somewhere. There he is. 6 cost, 4/7 ability, tether all adjacent enemy units until your next turn. If a tethered enemy moves, they are stunned. It's kind of like 2-turn taunt. Oh, that's fun to say. 2-turn taunt. Go on, say that one 3 times fast. Because effectively you dump him down, and like, if the units are moved, well, you have to use the ability. So you dump him down, then you get him into position, use your ability, and then basically if a unit moves, then it's stunned. And that's kind of cool, right? So that's kind of how it works. The other thing that you need to be aware of, if a tethered enemy moves, they are stunned. But I'm not entirely sure, but possibly I think you can potentially move Osiris away with Blink, and maybe that'll trigger the stun. I'm not entirely sure. It's not a card effect I've played around with. But if that is the case, then that's like stupidly strong. That's definitely something that's going to have to go into testing as we play around with the Egyptian decks. But yeah, he's kind of like a strong late game card, you know, similar to Anubis. Like, he could be your win condition, you know, if you're playing a control deck. I think the 4/7, like, he's tanky and he deals decent damage, so that seems pretty good. And it kind of forces people to attack him, because, you know, if they're stunned, if they move away, then they kind of have to attack him or he's going to attack them. So I think it's an interesting card, and we're going to wait and see kind of how it affects the meta. Okay, so then all the remaining new cards are actually neutral cards, which means they can go into any deck. Now, I know that previously, you know, you may have thought that Taunt was a Greek exclusive, but that is no longer the case. We now have a 3-cost card, Give a Non-Leader Friendly Taunt. And I can't wait till the turn where someone plays Fire Giant, who's a 7/7, and then dumps Taunt on him, so you have this 7/7 Taunt unit. Like, it's just gonna be horrible. It's gonna be... Taunt is a horrible effect. Like, Tuck Faunt, really, you know. It's a horrible effect. Well, it's not. It's a great effect. It's very tactical, and a lot of thought goes into how and when you use this effect. And I think this card, Taunt, giving a Taunt to a unit is going to be very interesting. Obviously, at 3 cost, you know, later game, you could basically summon a unit and dump Taunt on it. Early game, you're going to take 2 turns to do that. But I think it opens up a lot of possibilities for the game, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Speaking of Taunt, next up we have Chao Feng. And he is a 2/4 minion with Taunt. So this, now everyone has a minion. 4 cost, 2 damage for arm health. And this is a really, really good card. So if you look at the Greeks and you look at Brute, he is a 1/4 3 cost. And he's really effective. And mostly with Brute, I just dump him down. And I don't attack with him because, you know, he only has 1 damage. And the whole point is that if the enemy has to kill him to move, so they're going to take the damage anyway, so I want him to survive as long as he can, so I don't really attack, and that works really well. That's really effective. But now, you know, you can swap him out and put Chao Feng in, and then basically they have to take 2 return damage every time they hit him. So like, that's, you know, a lot of minions do have 2 health, so that's going to be, you know, really hard for them to deal with. And then in Greek, you can then put both of those cards in the deck, and then you just make this crazy Taunt deck and perpetually taunt your opponent. It's going to be pretty annoying. But yeah, strong card. Next up we have Fanwei. He is a 4 cost 4/2 ranged. I don't really rate Fanwei that highly because he is only got 2 health. He's kind of easily picked off. I mean, he is ranged, which means that if a ranged unit attacks him, you know, they are going to take 4 return damage. But I feel like he's too easily cleared to be hugely impactful. Especially when they then also added Kang, who is a 4/4 melee minion for 5 cost, who is immune to range. And I think immune to range, this effect is going to be game-changing for Smite Tactics. Basically, the fact of the matter is he doesn't take damage from ranged units, basically. So Fanwei can't attack him, but he can just run up to Fanwei and chop him up. And, you know, looking at very range-focused decks like maybe Egyptian, which has like Anhur and Neith, for example, cards like, for example, Scylla, Hades, Aphrodite, they're all kind of negated by Kang. And the fact that he only costs 5, like, you can get that out, you know, if you have a mana potion on turn 4, turn 3, like, you can get him out, and that's pretty goddamn strong. And then let's give him Taunt. Let's apply Taunt to him, and then, you know, ranged units are taunted but can't kill him. That seems pretty nasty, to be honest, and we'll see how this works going forward. Next we have the Bull Demon King, and you can see here, Bull Demon King Cleave. Basic attacks deal damage to all adjacent enemies. So he's a 2/5, and all adjacent enemies are all adjacent enemies to him. So the 8 squares around him, if he attacks something, 2 damage triggers in all of those squares. And again, he's one that you can maybe look to put into a teleport build, teleport in, and then do like AoE. And the thing is, the Cleave, he doesn't take retaliation damage from the Cleave attacks. He only takes damage, return damage from the character he targets. So what you need to do is obviously target the unit that's going to do the least return damage, and then everyone else takes damage. And again, having more minions in the game, I think, is really interesting. It is going to make Minion Recruiter more powerful, but ultimately, I think this is another card that we will see get a decent amount of play. Last but not least, I think this is, we have, yeah, this is the last card. We have Wind Demon. Give a non-leader friendly +1/0, so +1 attack, +1 range, and +1 movement. And this +1 range is like horizontal and vertical range. So like a melee unit can attack a unit that's 2 squares away from it horizontally or vertically with Wind Demon, which means that, you know, they can attack another melee unit and not take return damage. On top of that, I think the +1 range is the biggest thing. Ranged units then get a range of 5. And if you have a range of 5 and your opponent has a range of 4, you can range other ranged units from max distance and they won't retaliate. And on top of that, you've got bonus movement on ranged units, which is really useful because they, you know, they typically have less mobility than your melee units, and you get bonus damage. So I think this is a really kind of interesting and effective card. I think this is one that, you know, people are going to tech into the decks for utility, and could be really, really detrimental, especially against melee units, to be honest. Although I wonder how it synergizes with Wind Demon and Kang. So, like, let's say I have I don't know, not Fury. Fury's not ranged. Let's say I have a melee unit, yeah, Fury, and I give it Wind Demon, and then I attack Kang, but I attack him from, like, not adjacent, 1 square away. Does that mean I've become ranged because I've gained +1 range? Like, does Wind Demon convert units into range and thus make Kang stronger? Who knows? Who knows? This is the thing with card games, is like the synergies and effects and stuff are super interesting. And I can't wait to see, you know, how all of these cards come into play and the different kind of decks that people kind of make. I have definitely been experimenting, but it's still early days. So we'll kind of come up with cool stuff as time goes on. But yeah, that's basically it for the patch. Like I said, we've got new HUD and stuff that you'll see, you know, in future deck videos. These are our new cards. I think for the most part, they're all really good, except Fanway. He's kind of mediocre. He's a bit eh. I think he's too expensive for what he does, compared to some of the other cards in the game. What else? That's about it. That's really about it. I mean, I've mentioned the daily quests. They did some bug fixes. All in all, like, things are pretty good. Things are pretty good. This has been a really good patch, and I'm really excited to play, and I hope you guys are too. If you have any specific deck archetypes you want to see in future videos, let me know. You know, if you want to see, I don't know, a range deck or a monkey deck or whatever, like, let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, do hit that thumbs up. If you disagree with anything I've said or I've missed any, like, key points, then again, let me know in the comments below. Beyond that, you know, you can find me on Twitter at Jaggerous, and you can find me live streaming Smite Tactics and Gwent at twitch.tv/Jaggerous. Usually start 11 AM CET, Monday to Friday. So if you want to catch me streaming, it's a bit more casual than this. You can ask me kind of questions and stuff, then that's where to go. Yeah, beyond that, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in the next video. Maybe subscribe. Bye!